It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast. With good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the
future that you dream of.
That's right. We are talking today. This is episode number 34, by the way. I got my Borowski in the house, Brian Johnson from Denver. Thank you for making the drive down.
You're welcome.
I didn't even rhyme that time.
I know you didn't, but it's still funny.
I was going to say my broski from another, but really nothing comes out good that rhymes with that. No. Anyways, this is episode number 34, and today we are talking about what to do, the big financial moves to make in your 30s. Last week we talked about your 20s. I did that one on my own. Brian's here today we're going to do this. This is a two-part series today.
Two-part series, yep.
But we're going to do the 30s, half of it today, half of it next week, because it turns out there's a lot of crap you should do in your 30s.
A lot of stuff. Many steps, yeah.
That's right. Many stuff to do.
Yeah, it's not hard though, simple.
So simple stuff. It's just a matter of getting it done. So we're going to talk about what are the big money moves you should make in your 30s. We talked about your 20s. We're going to be talking about your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So we've got a lot to go through, but I'm excited to get into this.
We got to add the 80.
So, oh my God.
It's just the grave. That's it.
So. Just fall in?
Just fall in. Yeah.
Okay. We'll see how we feel about that when we're
hey, you won't know. You get that first shoulder of dirt in your face and that's it.
It's done. Okay. I'm excited to get into today's conversation, but before we do, I do a lot of reading and research, and I come across different financial headlines and news articles that catch my eye. So I thought we would take a minute to look at some news. Today's news article comes to us from NPR, and the headline reads, 2 condos were illegally converted into 18 micro apartments in New York City. It says that 2 Manhattan landlords took an unusual and illegal route to double their rentable space, cutting their 2 condos in half horizontally so they could rent out 18 tiny apartments in their Lower East Side building.
That's awesome. Entrepreneurial thinking.
Ingenuity. But here's the problem. You guys can't see the picture, but I'm going to post the link. You have to go and look at it. Brian, look at the picture of this guy next to the door. He's on his knees.
This has got to be a spoof.
This is real. So listen, they cut their apartments in half horizontally.
Yeah.
They built a floor in between the 2 in one, and they only had regular size. It's got pictures of doors. Literally, the guy is on his knees and he can barely get through the door.
I think it's a circus funhouse.
This is really true. When an inspector visited the building this month, he found half-size doors and very low ceilings, forcing him to kneel in an improvised hallway. A small staircase connects the 2 floors. I'm wondering, how small is this staircase?
Were they rented?
Yes.
That's all I need to know. Were they? Hey, the guys made a capitalist move.
They were rented, and they put it. Look at the cramped off a tiny door on. They made it floor 7.5. On the 7th floor, they turned it into floor 7.5.
How'd they get the elevator right?
That got off at floor 7, but then you went into the door and you had 7 or 7.5. You went up.
So you stepped up or stepped down?
You stepped up or stepped down. Now this is what's really crazy to me. The condo, 2 of them, it was 634 square feet.
They turned into 18.
2 of them. So basically 1,265 square feet, they turned into 18 micro apartments, each of which were about 70 square feet. And
that feels like a recording studio.
I would say this is about 70 square feet.
Probably.
So, but get this. They were charging $600 a month.
That's cheap.
For each of those 18 apartments. Yeah. All right. I would highly encourage you to go read that article. The link is down in the show notes. But for now, let's go ahead and get into today's hot topic. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's hot topic. What are the big money moves that you should make in your 30s? Now, Brian, you weren't here last week when I went through the 20s, but the 20s is kind of like your launching point into adulthood. Hopefully, by the time you're in your 30s, you are fully adultized. Adultness?
Maybe for your family, but mine starts at 16.
Well, that would be fantastic.
Isn't it?
My kids both moved out when they were 18.
Yeah, so, congrats.
Yeah. So, but most families, that average age is 27 of independence.
Is it really?
That's the average age, 27.
Man, I left when I was 19.
So I left when I was 18. But we talked through the 20s. We talked about paying off student debts. We talked about starting to invest. We talked about doing a little 10-year term life insurance policy. Those were kind of the foundations to get you going. Today we're doing what's the next? What's the follow-up steps? Just how many did we come up with?
Eight this time.
8 important money moves to make when you're in your 30s. And we're going to count them down.
Yeah.
In what we think is the order of least to most important. We'll go through the first 4 today, the next 4 next week. Okay, so let's start with number 8. You want to start?
College funding.
College funding. All right, so let's preface this by saying only if you have kids.
Yeah, only if you have kids. There's a big depends, right? If you don't have any kids, there's no point in doing it. If you have kids, you might as well get started.
So college funding, if you have kids, there's basically a couple of places that you can invest for college funding. Would that get you some benefits?
Benefits, yeah.
The College 529 plan.
Yep.
And the Coverdell plan.
And the Coverdell.
So, all right, so let's talk through the differences of them real quick, and we'll keep it brief. And if you don't have kids, you could probably fast forward about a minute and a half and pick back up.
Or buy your nephew a 529.
Or if you're going to have kids, I guess just listen for 90 seconds.
Right.
So, okay. So, Brian, Coverdell plan, how much can you put in per year?
$2,000 a year.
And that's it?
That's it.
Now, $2,000 a year might not sound like much, but, if you put it in for every year that they're,
For 18 years, it can turn into a lot of money.
$36,000 is what you would put in. And I ran the math at 7%. That'd be about $72,000.
Hey, most schools, you'll be done.
So, at least for half of it, anyways, depending on the school.
Yeah, I guess. That's a whole nother debate.
It's $2,000 max per child.
Yep.
So if you've got 2 kids, you could do it for each of them. That's the max. That's not the minimum. But that's the max. But there's also a couple of other rules. Once they turn 18, no more money.
No more money.
After their 18th birthday. So even though they're still going to college or just starting college, no more money. Also, once for a married couple, if your income's above $220,000, or for a single above $110,000, you can't contribute either.
Right.
So, but they're very simple.
They are.
The 529, what's your contribution limits with that?
Oh my gosh. Well, overall limit is $400,000 per beneficiary.
$400,000.
Yeah.
That is serious college.
And if you're going to be a doc, you need it. If you're not going to be a doc, then it's a lot of money sitting there.
So, and you don't have to put in $400,000, but they're saying you can never put in more than.
That's right. You can't put more than.
Yeah, but a 529 might be good because multiple people can contribute. So, grandma and grandpa could give to a 529 plan.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Aunts and uncles or whoever could give to a 5. And it could go over that 400 or that 2,000 a year.
When you have your kid's first birthday, you put 529 contributions only for presents.
That would be awesome. And if that's all they ever get, they'll be used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, also with the 529, I ran just a couple of projections. So if your kid was 0, that kid's born, you start right now, that's the best time to start because the longer you have, the less you have to save. Even if you did $100 a month, $1,200 per year, and you did that for 18 years, 7.5% interest, you'd have about $46,000. If you did about $1,800 a year, so that's $150 a month, that's $69,000. Yep. So it adds up.
It does.
Maybe it won't cover all of their school, but it covers a lot.
It'll cover a lot of it for sure.
Okay. But if you don't have kids, we skip that.
Yeah, why not?
We move on to number 7, which number 7 is having a will and a durable power of attorney. Right. Now, this really kind of comes into play if you're married.
Right.
If you're not married, you could probably hold off on this, but
let's just say you're not married, you get into a car accident, you are a vegetable.
Okay.
Do you want somebody to make your decision?
So
pull the plug or not?
Well, and yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so power of attorney would come in handy for brother or
that.
sister, mom or dad.
Right. Well, and another place where it really comes in handy is if I am married, and this is a good reason why you would have a will and a power of attorney. If I am married and I am in an accident, I'm incapacitated, well, what's going to happen with my 401k?
Right. Well,
Yep.
if you don't have a power of attorney, nothing.
Right. Because your beneficiary can't get it.
No, nobody can touch. Nobody can make any decisions. Nothing on that 401k.
Right. If your spouse is a power of attorney, then they can make some decisions.
That's
for
right.
you.
Absolutely.
Also, on that medical part, and you are correct. I'm going on a helicopter snowboarding trip here in a few months. What happens if I cannot make my own decisions? Who do I want to make those decisions?
I will be very happy.
By the way, if anything happens to me, Brian
everything.
incorporates all of the business. My spouse incorporates all of the
Kyla, sorry.
the personal stuff. So that's right. But you know what? You also want to have a will because who do you want to raise your kids?
Exactly.
What's going to happen with their health, maintenance, care, and support?
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, what about what's going to happen to your assets? Obviously, you want them to go to someone.
Right.
But in your will, you can specify it.
That's
Where
right.
if it goes to probate court without a will,
It goes through the probate laws versus how you want it to be done in your will.
and those are different in pretty much every state has different laws.
Right. So, and maybe the probate laws would work out for you, but who do you want to dictate where your money goes? You or the state probate laws?
Exactly.
Right. And who do you want to dictate how your kids or who's taking care of your kids? You or the courts?
Right, because without that will, the kids automatically become a ward of the state until they can be placed with, say, grandpa and grandma, brother, sister.
Whoever it might
Whoever.
be. So, okay. So a will and a power of attorney. All right. That was number 7. Number 6, buy a house. If you want to be a homeowner.
If you want to buy a house. But we got some great rules to look at. First is
Yes.
20 to 25% down payment.
Minimum.
Minimum. Because of why?
Well, first off is the PMI, the private mortgage insurance.
Right.
If you don't put down 20% on a house, then you have PMI, which is just wasted money.
It is. It's a 0.5% to 1% of every $1,000, right? Every $1,000.
It's a 0.5%, could go all the way up to 1.5%, depending on your credit and some other factors.
Right.
But it's based on your loan amount. So if you've got a $240,000 loan,
Make it simple.
1%, make it simple. That's
Yeah.
right. 1% would be $2,400 a year for PMI.
That is huge. When you're looking at saving for retirement, that's $200 a month out of that.
That's right. Which it's not, the PMI, sometimes I have a client say, oh, I don't need mortgage insurance to pay off my house. I already have PMI. No.
No.
PMI
Totally
is just in case you default on your loan, then the bank has some insurance for that.
Yep.
It does nothing for you. It does nothing for your family.
Yes.
Another great reason to put down 20 or 25%, make that a rule, is because just in general, if you can't afford a down payment, you probably can't afford the house or the expenses that come up with it.
Right, the maintenance of the house.
The maintenance
right?
of the
'Cause
house.
The house will need a furnace.
It will. Yes.
It will needs, painting and other
right.
maintenance things that come up. And if you are in that position or you don't have any money,
That's right. You got issues.
you're going to be calling mom and dad or swiping that credit card.
That's right. Or swiping that credit. And that's not good either. In general, your home payment should never be more than 25% of your income.
Yeah.
So that's approximate.
Yeah,
amount.
approximate.
Approximate.
Right,
amount.
right.
So if you can't put the money down to bring your payment down, then also you're going to be getting into a much smaller house to keep it under that 25%.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, you've worked in real estate.
Yeah.
So how long does a typical person stay in a house?
Less than 7 years.
Okay, there you go. So if you have to go to a smaller house now, over time, income goes up, home values go up, you can upgrade your house and still keep that 25%.
Yeah. The rule for getting a mortgage is they'll never go over 35 or 36% total for your debt to income.
Total debt.
Total debt. So
Everything.
that's your credit cards, your cars,
Student loans.
So if you've got credit cards, cars, student loans, well then you might only be able to get a house that's 15 or 20%
Right.
of your take-home pay, of your income, in order to stay in that debt-to-income ratio. But just because that's the rule for the mortgage companies doesn't mean that's the smartest rule. A good financial rule is put down 20 to 25%,
Yep.
and don't let your payment be more than about 25% of your income.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
okay. It is a great idea. I think if you want to be a homeowner, it's a great idea to buy a house. And it's great to buy it in your 30s, but do it the right way.
Right.
So, okay. Next up, get a financial plan going. And we want to be we want to break this down, a simplified
Yeah, a
financial
simplified plan. You don't really need anything that's totally comprehensive. First of all, most likely assets are there to require a full comprehensive financial plan.
Yeah.
But what we're really looking at is the overall retirement contributions that you need to make to get to where you want to go,
How much should I save?
and your insurance.
Yes.
So talk about the insurance.
Yeah, we talked last week about doing a 10-year term policy to kind of get you going. Well, now when you're in your 30s, we talked about an amount to get you started, but is that the right amount? So when you're doing a financial plan, you're going to look at really how much life insurance do I need? What's my specific family situation? What's my debts? What's my income? So reevaluating and doing it as a simplified financial plan, we'll find out, do I have enough life insurance? Do I have too much? How much should I have?
Right.
So it's going to look at those things.
Absolutely. It's going to look at that. It's going to look at disability.
That's right.
Because if you're working, and let's say you're the sole breadwinner, such as myself, disability is a big deal.
Oh, heck yeah. What happens if you can't work?
That's right. You got to have some type of money coming in.
That's right. So, and you may have a job that has disability insurance. You may be self-employed and have to do your own disability insurance. So a financial plan, a simplified one, just looking at retirement and insurance, is going to look and tell you these are the things that you need to look at specifically for you. And then the other thing that we've talked about when you're doing a financial plan is double checking your risk management.
For sure. I mean, to really break down that portfolio, because if you've been saving since in your 20s, right, doing the 10% that you recommend right off the bat, right? If you're doing that over 10 years, you could have a decent amount of money sitting there. So then how do you allocate it to make sure it's not too risky or it's not too darn conservative?
That's right. Are you being aggressive enough, but are you being too aggressive? You need to find that out. Doing a risk profile and looking at your portfolio as a part of a simple financial plan will help keep things in line.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah. Well, and we have one quote. One quote. What's the quote?
Oh, yeah. And this is a Warren Buffett quote.
Yeah, he found this today. Quote. This is great.
So, yeah. Warren Buffett says, an idiot with a plan will beat a genius without a plan every time.
That's right. He sure does.
So, not that I think any of us are idiots, but if we happen to be an idiot, I'd rather still be an idiot with a plan than a genius without one.
That's right.
So, thanks, Warren Buffett, for that great quote.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, all right. So, we went through the first four. College funding if you've got kids. Will and durable power of attorney, especially if you're married.
Yep. Purchasing a home.
Yep.
And a simplified financial plan.
So
simplified. Okay. What did I say?
Simplified. Simple. Make it simple. Yeah.
Make it
simple and easy financial plan. So, all right. We'll be back next week and looking at the other four, the top four in priority. So for now, that's it for this week. If you've got some value out of the show, please share it with your friends and family, anybody that needs to hear it. You can share it right through the podcast. Give us a thumbs up or a like. You can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us because
we're good looking.
Well, I was going to say because we do dumb things on camera.
Oh.
Regardless, that's it for this week. Until next week, if you've got some questions, email them to us at questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. Until next week, be safe, have some fun, and do something to help solve your money puzzle. Your future self will thank you for it.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. Edgen Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.